Hello again, my name is Rosie Sapphire, and welcome to what may be my very last Five Nights at Freddy's 64 devlog. I've been on a bit of a mental health hiatus for the past few weeks, but we're back and the game is pretty much done. I've also uploaded the code to GitHub for you guys to be able to play it for yourselves now. In the README you'll see instructions on how to get everything set up, but I understand that some people can be more visual learners, and I want this to be as accessible as possible. Now you may remember before that I said I'd need to decompile the assets from a legit copy of the game, similar to Mario 64 decomp, and wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what I did. If you look into the GitHub repos assets/custom folder, you'll see the assets that I had to either remake from scratch or stitch together into a sprite sheet. This shouldn't be an issue because this is maybe like 5% of the total assets in the game, and there's no way you'd be able to compile a functioning ROM with this little data. Now, in order for this to work, you must already have your own copy of Five Nights at Freddy's on your computer. If you don't, download it from Steam or wherever you need to get it from, and put it in a folder you'll remember. This is where we bust out our secret weapon, Click Team Fusion Army Knife, or CTFAK for short. What we want to do is download it from the GitHub page. To do this, you're going to need a GitHub account. So go ahead and create one, which you can do by linking your Google account if you really want. And now that we have an account, go to the page, click Installation, click the Actions tab, and then click the latest build tagged as Master, and scroll down and click on the CTFAK button to download. Now extract it into a folder you'll remember. I'll use my downloads for this demonstration. Now go into the folder, and before you run anything, make sure to extract the CTFAK requirements.zip into the directory. Now run the CLI executable. It should pop up with a command window that asks you for the path to your copy of Five Nights at Freddy's. You can either type it manually or copy and paste it, but once you enter it, it'll ask for parameters. We don't need to put anything here, so just hit enter again. Now we can see it indexing all the frames inside of the Click Team Fusion project, and once that's done, it'll give us a list of options to choose from. We're going to hit 3 and enter to use the image dumper, and then you're going to hit 4 and enter to use the sound dumper. Once this is done, we can hit 0 to exit the program. Now inside of the dumps folder, we can see that we have an images and sounds folder. Now we're going to need to use something called Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL for short. If you don't have it installed, I'll leave a link in the description for a tutorial on how to set that up. Do that, come back to this video, and open it up by hitting the Start menu and typing WSL. Now that we're here, type ~/ to go to the home directory. You can really organize this however you want to, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to type makedir fnaf to create a directory called FNAF. Now since we require libdragon in order to build the game, we're going to have to install it. To keep things really simple, I'm just going to be using the Docker version of libdragon just so you guys don't have to build the whole thing yourself, especially since that can take a while. First, we're going to go back to our host PC and install the Docker desktop application from the description and run it. Once inside, go to Settings, Resources, enable integration with my default WSL distro, and then enable the Ubuntu switch below that. This will allow integration with our WSL environment, which is very important. Now you can go to the libdragon Docker GitHub page, go to Releases, and download the latest build for the Linux executable. This should install to your Downloads folder, and now we need to copy it over to our Linux. So go into WSL and copy the downloaded tar.gz file from your main PC to your WSL instance. Once it's here, run tar-xvzf and then the libdragon tar file. This will extract the executable to the current directory. Now you can run sudo cp libdragon /user/local/bin. This will install it to your computer so you can run it from anywhere. At this point, you'll want to make sure that you have git installed, so type sudo apt-get install git. Now that we have libdragon's Docker CLI and git installed, we can go into our FNAF directory and run libdragon init. This will create a Docker container for libdragon and install everything necessary. Once this is done, we're going to need to switch to the unstable branch in order to utilize the RDPQ functionality that this FNAF port requires. So run git -C libdragon checkout unstable. Then run libdragon install. After all of this is done, we can remove the source directory and the make file that it comes with. That way, all we have in this folder is just the libdragon directory, which contains the engine code. At this point, we want to download the actual FNAF port itself by typing git clone and then the link for the GitHub, which is in the description. We're almost done. I know this is a lot of information to take in, and if at any point you get stuck or come across an error, please let me know in the comments so I can help you out. All that's left to do is convert the assets and compile the ROM. This is where the copyassets.sh file comes into play. First, we want to go into the FNAF 64 folder and make another directory called temp, so we have a place to store the assets locally. Once the tempter is created, make sure to copy both the images and sound directory from your ctfak directory like so. One thing to note is that you may be used to typing c:/ when referencing a C drive, but since we're inside Linux, we replace that with /mount/c and then the rest of our directory. cp/mount/c/users/your username/downloads/ctfak/dumps/Five Nights at Freddy's, and then put an asterisk at the end, space tmp. This will copy all of that stuff into the temp folder. But before we run copy assets, we need to make sure that we have all the dependencies for the game installed. Copy and paste this command in the description to download the stuff you need for this. Now we can run copyassets.h. Pass both the image and sound directories as parameters for this, like so, and hit enter. Once it's done, all the assets we need from the original game are properly converted and installed, so we can remove the temp directory now. Finally, it's time to build the ROM. Type libdragonmake and the assets will be converted into the format that Nintendo 64, or more specifically libdragon, can use. These will be dumped into a new file system directory, which is what will actually be used in the game. Once all of this is done, you should see a file in here called fivenightsatfreddy's.z64 in your working directory. At this point, we're done. All that's left to do is play the game. Make sure you have the ARES Nintendo 64 emulator installed, and if you don't, go to their website and get a copy of it on your host PC, not in WSL. Now open up Explorer and scroll down until you see Linux. Inside you should see a folder called Ubuntu, go to that, then Home, your username, FNAF, FNAF64. And there's our final ROM file. At this point, it's just a matter of right-clicking it, running it with ARES, and then setting up the controls in the emulator if need be. However, for those of you who want to play it on console, which is kind of the whole fucking point, you'll need a flash cart like the EverDrive 64, 64 Drive, or Summer Cart 64, for example. Make sure you have a way of transferring files to an SD or microSD card depending on which flash cart you end up using, and once you have it copied, boot it up on the 64, select the ROM, and enjoy. Congratulations! We went from source code to decompiling assets to fully building a ROM that you can play on real hardware. Keep in mind that this is not the final version of the game, and as you can see from the GitHub page, at least at the time of making this video, there are still a few things left to do. You'll notice updates in the form of commits, and if you ever want to update the game, first make sure you're inside the FNAF 64 directory, type make clean to clear the current build, and then type git pull to get the latest changes from the GitHub repository. Now just build the game again with libdragonmake, and there you go. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and like I said, if you had any problems, let me know in the comments. If there's something major that I missed, I'll make sure to put it in the pinned comment. So if you're having issues, just scroll down and check that out if it's there. Thank you so much for watching, and happy playing!